Hello, and welcome to this session on how to get ahead of quality issues from AI-generated code. I'm Ole Lensmar, your host, CTO at Testkube. Really happy to be here to talk to you about this topic today. Let's level set. What is the GenAI quality challenge? Well, first of all, LLMs make mistakes, just like humans do, right? Some of those mistakes are similar to the mistakes that a developer might make, but some of those mistakes are more specific to LLMs and how they work. But regardless, both of those mistakes need to be proactively managed so they don't kind of creep into your code and into your production deployment. As a developer using AI to generate code, you're maybe more focusing on prompt and context engineering, helping AI basically create valid code, less typing, more reviewing and validating. And as from a testing perspective, we need to continue to shift testing left. Really important to review and run tests early, especially for GenAI code. We need to also shift testing right, meaning that we want to run pre-production tests to make sure that things haven't slipped through cracks before they go into production. And finally, testing does have to happen continuously across the entire SDLC. I'll get back to all of this. Let's have a quick look at some mistakes that LLMs make that also humans make, just to kind of level set what could go wrong when you're using AI to generate code. One is just simpler logic that looks right, but is actually wrong, like off by one errors, not starting at 0 while you should be starting at 1, or ending before the end of a loop when you should be going all the way through. Reversing conditions, kind of small mistakes that humans and AI can make just based on their training data. Another one could be just misinterpreted business rules. So an AI might think that a canceled order can't be edited, while it actually can be edited. It's just that you haven't specified that. And a human could, of course, make the same mistake if they haven't been given those requirements. That misconception might be in their code as well. Not handling edge cases or invariants, checking for null, making sure you don't, get negative values or values that you're not expecting, something that AI doesn't always handle for if you don't ask it to explicitly. And of course, I speak for myself, I've made that mistake many times as a developer, things that are easy to forget. More complex, let's say you're working with asynchronous or concurrency issues, where you have shared states across multiple threads or processes. This is something that an AI can get wrong, definitely, just as a human can get wrong. Once again, it's super important to guide an AI right on the requirements and how things are supposed to work. Finally, security, a very common topic, since AI is trained on code that may not always be secure, it'll, of course, might also be generating code that isn't always secure. And this could be, prone to injection attacks, logging secrets to standard output, or not doing authorization the correct way. More interesting, maybe, is to look at some mistakes that LLMs can make that humans usually don't make. So one is around matching, mixing patterns. So for example, if you ask an AI to generate a caching strategy or concurrency model, it might have been trained on different caching strategies and might mix those up because it doesn't really know kind of what belongs to what strategy. A human would never do, or usually not do that. They'll stick to one strategy, but they might get it wrong. Another is just incorrect assumptions based on the data they've been trained on. This could be about data formats. It could be how data structures work, if they're sorted, or if they're, maybe what kind of units you're using, that kind of stuff. Another common issue is that AIs don't always follow through in a multi-step process. They don't do the finalizers at the end or the cleanups or the invalidation of tokens, because that's not always in training data. Those same mistakes could be in the data that they've been trained on. And so it's important to check for that an LLM actually falls all the way through. This is not something that humans usually forget, although of course they can. Semantic drift is interesting. An AI might create a function where it uses a variable in the beginning of the function for one thing and then uses that same variable at the end of the function for something else. It doesn't really have a contextual understanding of what it's doing, right? It's generating code based on patterns and might not always see that it's actually reusing variables semantically that are in an incorrect way. Finally, incorrect assumptions about execution environments, right? An AI might think, oh, this is going to be running under, I don't know, Windows or Linux, or running under a specific version of something. That a developer would probably not make that mistake because they have a better understanding of the context. This another example of where an AI needs help to generate correct code. So let's have a look at some ways to get ahead of the problems that might arise and to make sure that the quality of the code is good. One is really just around prompt engineering. So it's super important to be really clear and spend some time on creating a prompt. Don't just write a prompt, create this and then hope it's going to go right, because just as I showed and just as it would for a human, a very lacking requirements will result in things not really working as you expect them to. So providing clear constraints and invariants around the data that's being provided. Ask a model to reason step by step and explain to you what it's planning to do. Many models do this automatically today, so that's a great thing. It's a great way to break down and make sure things go right. Make clear to specify environments, versions, etc. What it's allowed to use, what it's not allowed to use to solve a problem. For example, use this version of Java, only use the existing libraries, use target this operating system or this Kubernetes version or whatever it might be. Also, focus more on correctness than being clever, right? So you can tell an LLM to say, hey, prefer simple code, don't overdo it, don't introduce abstractions unless you have to. AI, once again, it's been trained on code. It can sometimes go over the, what's the expression, over the roof and generate very complex solutions to very simple problems. That's something that you can really guide it in your prompts. And finally, require tests and behavioral checks, right? You can do test-driven development with AI. You can actually ask it to first generate tests based on some requirements, and then ask it to implement code that now makes these tests pass. But you can also ask it to just generate tests as it goes along to continuously validate the behavior that it's implementing. Taking this a step further is what we call context engineering. So this is about helping your LLM have a bigger context of the code that it's generating. So it sees the project's real patterns, right? Not just the generic patterns from training data. So it matches your style and constraints and architecture, and maybe understands the domain rules that developers in your team know implicitly. And the techniques for this is basically show an LLM, right? Write condensed rules about how your existing code base works, what patterns you've used, and what architectural styles you've used. You can tell it about domain types. You can tell it obviously about constraints, similar to what we said earlier. And these contexts can be captured in a separate file that you can include in all your prompts, just to make sure that whatever the LLM generates will always have the high-level correct context for generating code. And of course, you can include testing in that as well, both on how you're doing testing, how you expect to do testing. So you can summarize it that while context engineering shows the model how you're already doing your things and how your things work, prompt engineering tells the model what to do. Super important to get these two right. It'll go very, very far, long way to help you generate code, or AI to generate code that actually works. Next step is to really focus on automated testing. Just when you're writing manual code, you need to have tests. And that has to continue to be part of the mindset. And you need testing to validate that the code that's being written, regardless if it's from an AI or a person, tests need to be in place. So you can, of course, ask AI to generate tests for you. Those could be unit tests as part of code generation. They could be end-to-end or component tests based on the contracts or requirements that you have. Then it's super important to run those tests. The earlier, the better. Not always feasible, depending on the scope of the test and what the requirements for a testing environment is. But if you can do like static analysis before even committing, there's AI-based linters out there that kind of lint, not just using AI to lint, but also ensure that the code, obviously, that's being generated follows the rules that you have and the context that you've given. And unit testing as before. And then try to automate that, right? So it's not something you have to do manually. Make sure that those run locally. Maybe you can even spin up a local testing environment that does some component and end-to-end integration tests with mocked out third-party dependencies. Docker and Kubernetes make it super easy, or pretty easy, to provision testing environments, much easier at least than it was maybe a couple of years ago. And the earlier, as you know, the earlier you catch bugs and you get things right, the less problems you'll have later on. Speaking of later on, you still need to run automated tests in pre-production and environments. And this is really related to that AI, like I said before, doesn't always have context. So it can introduce very subtle bugs that might not be evident. And I guess the same goes for humans, that might have ripple effects across your entire system that you wouldn't notice until you do a full end-to-end integration test or rerun your performance or security tests in your pre-production environment. One way to think about this is adopting something called continuous testing. And continuous testing is really about doing testing across the entire software delivery lifecycle. So we've talked about shifting left, doing tests earlier. We can also talk about shifting right, doing tests later, as I mentioned, pre-production. But ultimately, you need to run your tests, unit tests or linting, the things I talked about earlier, like while you're coding locally, while you're building locally, or in your CI/CD pipeline. Once you've built your components or artifacts in CI/CD, you might want to run some component tests on that. You might want to run end-to-end or integration and component tests before you publish that artifact to a repository, or you start deploying it immediately to a pre-production or staging or testing environment. So super important. This is kind of the shift left part. Try to get all these tests into place. Once you've deployed into a pre-production environment, run end-to-end integration tests, run non-functional tests like performance tests, security tests, compliance tests. There's a bunch of kind of tests you can run to validate that whatever AI is generated early on, even if you've put all those guardrails into place and you've done your prompt engineering and your context engineering, things always fall through the cracks. This is not specific to AI. It's a very human thing as well. So, but ultimately, these are things to really embrace as you ask AI to generate more and more code for you. And in production, and this is actually something that's pretty common. People run full end-to-end suites in production, not that often maybe, and maybe with a constrained set of data to not change the state of your production system, but just to make sure that things continue to run smoothly. One thing you might think is that, well, I'll just use my CI/CD tool, like I can ask Jenkins and GitHub Actions to do this. But CI/CD is not a great solution for a continuous testing approach. One thing is, as you saw earlier, you want your tests to run outside of CI/CD. You want them to run locally. You might want them to run in your Kubernetes environment, like in response to something happening in your infrastructure. You might want to run them more on a schedule in a or in your production environment for in-prod testing. So that's not something that CI/CD tools are great at, right? Because, as I said, tests need to be run on different triggers, and also might need to be triggered locally while you're developing. Another thing is that to help you troubleshoot efficiently, you need to collect all the artifacts and logs and whatever else you might need to figure out why your tests failed. And that can be both from the testing tool itself, but also from the system under test. And this is also something that a CI/CD tool does not do. It's something that you'd have to kind of write scripts for to aggregate and collect everything, and as I call it, test observability here. And data would then be used both to troubleshoot, like tactically, why did this test fail, but also to do reporting, understanding kind of which components do we need to focus on for testing, where do we need to do more testing, or etc. Finally, the concept of quality gates is something that's increasingly popular in cloud native deployment, where you have an asynchronous approach to deploying software. So basically having setting up rules for when a release can be promoted across environments. And those rules can be pretty complex around which tests that need to be run, what are the pass failure rates. This could be non-functional rules, right? Performance related, or even security related rules that you might set up for the tests that you run. Once again, this is not something that a CI/CD tool would do for you. And just to have a nice Venn diagram in this presentation, as you can see, continuous integration up here is really focused on builds. Continuous deployment is more focused on releasing. Continuous testing is focused more on automated testing and all the things I mentioned related to that. All of this boils down to continuous delivery, which is, of course, all of these three at a higher level. So what AI-driven teams really need is a continuous testing strategy. Apart from prompt engineering, context engineering, you need to have a way to run tests continuously to ensure that as you generate more code, that your testing can keep up with that AI-generated code and the mistakes that it makes. And maybe even you have some still developers making mistakes of their own. And so what you really, one way to break this down is in a continuous testing world, you need a catalog of all the tests so you can have an insight to what tests are you running, where and when across this pipeline that I showed you. You need an execution engine to run your tests consistently because you want to be able to have, you need the same test results. If you run your tests locally, if you run your tests in CI/CD, if you run your tests as a pre-production provisioning or promotion gate, obviously you want to make sure that the result is the same. So you have to have an execution engine that will run this test the same way with using the same technology stack for that reliability. And of course, also for scale. As I said, you want to run a lot of tests and your execution engine needs to be able to handle that with any kind of test. Test observability is something that you'll have to account for. How do you collect all those artifacts? And finally, analytics to help you with reporting. And maybe not you as a developer, but as a QA manager, you might be really interested in, are we testing the right stuff, or do we need to refocus? This is just a visualization of that. And since I'm from Testkube, obviously that's where Testkube fits in, because Testkube is a continuous testing platform. I'm not going to talk more about Testkube because I wanted to talk more about the higher level topic of how to get ahead of quality issues from GenAI code. So let's wrap that up. Just to kind of look at the things I've talked about. One, really important is, shifting left, super left, is to help AI generate code that works, right? This is about prompt engineering for correctness. It's about context engineering for guardrails. And there are great tools out there to help you. AI in itself is great at helping you create good prompts and to help you with context engineering. So that's a good start. But there are also tools out there that help you specifically around context engineering to aggregate context from your existing code base. And then finally, including test generation in your prompts and context, super important as well. And finally, second here, embracing continuous testing. As I've said, run automated tests across the entire SDLC from pre-commit to production. As I said, those can be unit tests, they can be component tests, they can be end-to-end tests, but this could also be performance tests, security tests, etc. And then adopting a continuous testing platform, Testkube, to tie all that together, because your CI/CD tool is not going to be able to do this, especially as you scale out and need to run more and more tests. And with those words and 18 minutes, I thank you so much for listening. I hope this was interesting. Please feel free to get in touch if you have questions, follow-ups, etc. on all of this. You see my email here. Testkube.io is our website. Testkube is open source, so you can go to GitHub and find it there as well. And I hope you have a great conference. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.